I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome back to the Truth and Consequences moment of your day. We're talking, did I just say that? Did I just call this show? Wow, it's the final word, MattyB, here on the It's a Rap Sports Network. What's your boy, MattyB, on the call? I almost called this show the Talking Philly Sports with MattyB show. Wow, man. Wow. I am feeling a little under the weather tonight. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not 100%. I don't know. I got something here, I think. It's great to be back here on this Wednesday, January the 29th, 2025, our final show of the week. That's right. This will be it. Even though we typically go to Thursday, I have post-game duties tomorrow, so I will not be back with the final word until Sunday. And is that a good thing? Don't answer that. What I mean by that is that a good thing because next time you see me or hear me from this platform, it'll be, 7 days till the Super Bowl. And we can finally get there and get this thing over with. As we now get into that hardest part of the season, the wait, right? The wait. The build-up, the anticipation for the Eagles and Chiefs in Super Bowl 59, which will be in about 10 days or 11 days from now. And I guess it's, every year it's like this. It's not like this is the first time the Super Bowl has been played like this. It's always a bye week in between. But when your team is involved, obviously it makes it feel like it's about a year in between. There's a lot of positives for the bye, and I agree with the bye week in between the Super Bowl. Each team is really dinged up at this point of the season. They've been playing hard, going at it since July, basically, with training camp, preseason, and the regular season. Both these teams did have a first-round bye in the playoffs. So I'm not saying that they haven't had their rest, but the Eagles, with the injuries to the offensive line, with the injuries to A.J. Brown, with the injuries to Jalen Hurts, are definitely probably very happy that they're on a bye week as they get ready for the Super Bowl. But when you look at all the pomp and circumstances that's involved in the Super Bowl, is it really a bye week? Because if you don't get practice in this week, if you don't actually get your game plans put in this week, if you don't really concentrate on the opponent this week, there's not much time to concentrate on the opponent next week amidst all that circus of Super Bowl week. All the responsibilities and the paparazzi and the pictures and just all the fluff that goes along with Super Bowl festivities. Is it really a bye week? But it's a bye week in the good sense of the word, that they have an opportunity to get healthy. So bottom line, that was a long way to go around to say that they're in a bye week as they prepare for Super Bowl 59. And the talk here around town still doesn't seem to be that fever pitched about the Chiefs. I'm hearing a lot of no more talk about the Commanders. I do want to address what I saw from the Commanders, some fans today about what happened on Sunday. But not really that much talk yet about the Chiefs. It's more of generalized, we're going to win, and generalized, patting on the back type situation right now with the Eagles, that they're congratulating themselves. And the fans are doing their victory lap. And that's what last night's show was. Super Bowl delirium is running rampant through town because it seems like the fan base is doing a victory lap about the Super Bowl. And then they haven't won it. They're there. And that concerns me. I get it. You're excited. And I get that you should be excited and it's warranted, but they haven't won anything yet, or I should say they have won something yet. They've won a potential second-place trophy at this point. So I understand the excitement. I do. But let's stop congratulating everybody. Let's stop high-fiving because there's still one more game to go. A very important one game, and that game will be in about a week and a half. So we'll talk a little bit more about the Super Bowl. 14 days until pitchers and catchers report. In the midst of all this Super Bowl hype, baseball season is right around the corner as we're getting to the end of January into the month of February, and then baseball. Baseball, man. A month from today, baseball will be in full swing. Oh, spring training will be at least. Yeah. Spring training will. If you think about it, what month from today will be March 1st, right? Absolutely, spring training will be in full swing. That's a great thought. I just realized that a month from today, 30 days from now, spring training will be in full swing. Not pitchers and catchers reporting, not practice, but games, spring training games will be in full swing. That's awesome. And 14 days from now, pitchers and catchers do report to begin that journey, that 6.5-month journey. And do the Phillies have what it takes to get to the top? And that's a conversation that are the Phillies happy right now that the Eagles are running for a Super Bowl? Do you think they're happy with the attention is not placed on them right now? Amidst of the off season of inactivity. So we'll see. But we're going to get a little bit more into Phillies. Also, we're going to get into we're going to finish my all-time Phillies roster with our manager and lineup. Last night I debuted the starting rotation and the closer. Tonight it's the manager and the lineup, and we're going to put to bed my all-time Phillies roster segment. And then probably next week we're going to start the Flyers part of it. We're going to do my all-time Flyers roster, which I'll debut my 4 lines and my 2 goaltenders. My 4 lines, my 3 deep pairings, and my 2 goaltenders, and coach and coach. Again, please excuse me. I caught something. I don't know what it is. It's kicking my butt. Of the night segment as well, card review, and anything else we can kind of find to talk about tonight. So buckle up. Let's enjoy the ride, our final ride of the week, as I will not be back tomorrow because of post-game obligations that I have the Fightins final. I just said the Fightins final. You know where my mind is. I'm just talking about baseball, and I'm saying I have the Fightins final tomorrow. So yes, I have Phillies post-game duty tomorrow. There's no game, but I'm going to be doing the Phillies post-game tomorrow night. Now I have clear the ice duty tomorrow. As tonight, Sal, he'll have you right after this, right after the Flyers game is over tonight. I have no idea what the Flyers are doing right now. I just literally woke up. I'm not lying. I just woke up and hopped on here. So I have no idea what the Flyers are doing. And then I'll be back tomorrow for the Islanders. So this is our final show of our broadcast week. And then we'll be back on Sunday. Joe, it is good to hear from you again. Hey, good evening. How are you tonight? As I said, Joe, I'm battling something right now. I got a little touch of the crud. I think one of them late winter. I don't know if is this late winter. Do you consider late January late winter, or is that more of late February? But I got a winter something. Kind of had that tickle in the throat today, and tried to be aggressive fighting it, and I was a little bit too aggressive, and ended up having to go to sleep. Now I'm up. I feel better in that aspect, but I definitely feel whatever I did have is settled in, and now is going to be a pain. So I'm okay, I guess. I'm up and moving around. But all right. Now Joe's giving us an update of the Flyers game tonight. Devils are winning 2-0. Oh man. Again, the Flyers are still doing their little dance, the 1 step forward, 2 step dance, the 1 step forward, 2 step back shuffle of the 2024-25 Flyers. 2-0, Joe reports. Devils over Flyers. So, again, make sure you're back here later after the game. Sal will have you for full post-game activities. And I'll have you tomorrow night as the Flyers will be going back-to-back. Tomorrow night, they're home against the Islanders. All right, let's get things rocking. Let's get things rocking like we do every week or every night on our This Day in Philadelphia Sports segment. This Day in Philadelphia Sports, this Day in Philadelphia Sports segment is brought to you by the fine folks over at It's a Wrap Sports. For all they do, this bud's for you. Now, for all we do, I want to say to everybody out there that we need your help. Yeah, please like and subscribe, share out the word, smash the bell, do all those things that the kiddies do. Help us grow this thing as we try to get bigger and better for the years to come, so we can continue to bring you great Negadelphian Entertainment, if you're asking people about me. So yeah, please. And then again, there's a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes here. Absolutely. So let's get into our This Night in Philadelphia history. I'll take you back to the year 1993. I want to see. There's a few people watching. Where you're, how smart you guys are. What happened on this night back in '93 in Philadelphia sports history? Let's do this like. Let's try to be detectives on this. Let's walk the dog. It's football related. It's football related in a long way around. It's not necessarily a football thing, but it's a football inspired day in Philadelphia sports history. It was a protest, so to speak, of football. I mean, let's put it to you that way. I'm going to give you 3 seconds if you throw out any answers into the chat, see if you have the right one, and then we'll talk about it. 3, 2, 1. Okay, no one's trying, but let's get into this. So, as I said, it's football inspired. It was in protest of futile playoffs, of no playoffs, of starving championship football and the lack thereof championship football in the city of Philadelphia. An event today started in order to release some of the angst and the energy that was created for not winning many football games. That's right, folks. Today, back in 1993, was the very first ever Wing Bowl. Yes, the Wing Bowl. That very sacred event that occurred on every Super Bowl weekend or eve of the Super Bowl weekend. I believe it was the Friday before the Super Bowl, or in between, whenever it was. Started by Al Morgani and Angelo Cataldi. Or actually, I think it was started by Morgani, and then Cataldi ran with it. It was the morning show, 94 WIP, or 610 WIP at this point. It was in direct defiance of the lack of Philadelphia Eagle playoff football, lack of Eagle Super Bowl football. So they decided to have their own little event to celebrate to celebrate Super Bowl weekend, because we could not celebrate Super Bowl football here in Philadelphia. So they celebrated debauchery and gluttonous behavior by having the Wing Bowl, which was just what it was, as many wings as you could eat. Now, I believe it started out that way. It did. Did it conclude with just still wings? Was there Was there more involved in terms of eating? But it was a contest of who could eat the most wings and who in a short period of time. And it was the first one today, had only 150 people in attendance, and it was held at the Wyndham Franklin Plaza in Philly. That was the first one. Now, at its epochs, or I should say, when they concluded the event in 2018, the last one, 20,000 fans at the Wells Fargo. So it went from 150 in a hotel lobby, and it grew to 20,000 people at the Wells Fargo. And of course, it took on a life of its own as the years passed on, and became just sort of very adult, very much so adult. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was canceled, because it kind of just grew a little bit out of control. Carmen Cordero was the first winner of Wing Bowl. He ate 100 wings, and he took home a hibachi as his prize. Wow. And then, of course, some of the names that came out of that, El Wingador, there was, in its time, it was pretty damn good. But yes, it got out of control. But, and then, of course, Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl football returned. And I believe 2018, that final one was right before the Eagles played the Patriots in Super Bowl 52. So happy Wing Bowl birthday on this date back in 1993, the first ever Wing Bowl. Wow. And there you go. There's your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the good folks over here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. I never attended any of those Wing Bowls. I always meant to go, but I just never could find my way to it. I think I would have been better off going to the early ones, because obviously they were held during the morning show, right? So between 6 and 10 a.m. on a Friday. Nah, I just wasn't. I just didn't have the energy for that. But I do remember how Wing Bowl got, man. I do remember hearing about it, watching the news about it. Yeah, it was it became its own little thing, and Angelo Cataldi became like the self-proclaimed mayor of a bunch of derelicts, man. You know, he was like their leader and stuff. Yeah, I don't. Are you? Would you be happy with that? I mean, I could see me being like the leader of something like that. And I know that the intentions around Wing Bowl were satirical, but yet they were in protest. Essentially, Wing Bowl was a protest of bad football and lack of championship football about the Eagles. And it grew on to its own. It started from there, but it became it's this other thing. And yeah, man, 2018, 20,000 fans at the Wells Fargo. Went from 150 on this date at the Franklin Wyndham Mall, Hotel to 20,000 back in Wells Fargo on its final installment back in 2018. Wow. Crazy, man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So there you have it. Wing Bowl. The incarnation of Wing Bowl on this day. And yeah. See, we talk about it all here, man. We talk about it all. I don't shy away from the day's events. If it's Wing Bowl, if it's dwarf tossing, if it's horse racing, if it's on this day, I talk about it. I am multi-talented, folks. You got to give me some credit there. Not many people can go into a 5-7 minute rant about Wing Bowl. I can. And yeah, I'm dealing with something, man. Woo. I hate being sick. Tomorrow I'm going to be worse than on the road to recovery, hopefully. Yeah, sorry about that. Wow. I'm back. All right, let's talk about some more Eagles. As I said, very early on into the process of the Super Bowl. The hype is, is this purposeful? Because I honestly, listening to the radio, and I don't listen to much sports radio. I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't. I haven't really in a long time. But what I have listened to, yes, it still seems to be people are very excited. People are giving their stories of how proud they are of the team and how they saw it coming and how I can understand that this is why we're here and blah, blah, blah. But there's not much talk on the Commanders anymore. There's a little bit on the Commanders. I heard somebody talking about it today. And there is something I do want to address about the Commanders. And then, but there's not really that much talk yet on the Chiefs, except in a very broad stroke of, yeah, we'll beat them. No one's really getting, I haven't really heard much breaking down of Chiefs Eagles yet. And I'm trying to think back to 22 in between the championship game against the 49ers and the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. I'm trying to think back if this is how it went the week prior. And the same thing between Patriots Eagles and Super Bowl 52. I'm trying to remember if this was the doldrums the week before. People just weren't getting their I guess they were pacing themselves maybe, but yeah, so in the reflection and title of today's show, and that's what I'm hearing a lot of. I'm hearing a lot of the reflection. People are saying, well, it's been a long road. Started in July. We went through a lot of ups and downs. We reinvented ourselves, got off to a bad start, reinvented ourselves, and truly remarkable situation running behind the offensive line. Saquon Barkley has been a godsend. Defense kind of came out of nowhere. I've been hearing a lot of that going on today. And it's like they're talking like the season's over and that we've actually won. Again, I don't remember that last time. I don't remember that type of conversation in Super Bowl 52 or 57. And I don't remember 52. And this is the third, and again, another feather in the Eagles' cap. This is the third in the 50 Super Bowl the Eagles have appeared in this year. In the Super Bowls that were 50 through 59. This is the third one the Eagles have been in. So the Eagles have owned the 50s of the Super Bowl. Got to give credit where credit's due. I can't be hypocritical about it. I got to give credit. I dish it out to Howie, and I dish it out to them all the time. But I got to sit back and give credit. Now, a lot of that credit is tongue-in-cheek because we only won one of them to date. So, and I'm going to ask that question a little bit later on too. But But again, a lot of reflection about how great this ride's been and how great this team has been and how fun it's been to watch them and all that. But not much about the fact that we have one more game left. And again, is it because people are just taking their time? They want to pace themselves. They don't want to get completely overrun by excitement, that they're just sort of like hanging back. I don't know. I'm ready to start digesting some Kansas City Chiefs. I'm ready to start digesting some, instills. What are we going to do in order to beat the Chiefs? How do the Eagles beat the Chiefs? And this leads me into my second point. I was looking at something where I guess the flavor around Washington or Virginia or Maryland or in Commanders Nation is not necessarily that the Eagles beat them. It's more so directed at the fact that they beat themselves with the 4 turnovers. Now, I went on a rant last night about how I believe that the 4 turnovers in that Commanders game were the reason, number one, why the Eagles won that game. And that, yes, the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles has been a great story in 2024. And the emergence of players like Zach Bond, Jalen Carter, the backfield of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, Nolan Smith has sort of rounded in the form as well, has been a great story. It has. But the Commanders moved the football. Everyone's forgetting this. The Commanders moved the football against the Eagles. They absolutely did. It wasn't like the Eagles defense shut them down in terms of not being able to move the ball. It was those damn turnovers that severely, and I'm not saying that without the turnovers, the Commanders would have won. I'm not saying that. I don't think they would have lost 53-25 or whatever, 55-23. Would have been much closer than that. But those 4 turnovers were huge. And no one's giving credence to that. And I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned that we're missing the bigger football picture here. Yeah, the Eagle defense has been a great story. It is definitely one of the reasons why they're sitting in this position. And the fact that they were able to force 4 turnovers is part of the reason. It's because of their defense. So you got to give the credit there as well. But my concern is that we're, as a fan base, looking past the fact that we have, the way we hear people talk, if you just zapped in from Mars, you would think that the Eagle defense was some sort of combination between the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens. And it's not that. People move the football against the Eagles. Lesser quarterbacks are moving the ball against the, or I should say lesser. Jaden Daniels is not a lesser quarterback. Matt Stafford is not a lesser quarterback. And Jordan Love is not a lesser quarterback. They're moving the ball against this defense. What's happened is that the turnover has assisted the Eagles in an epic way in the postseason. 10 turnovers the Eagles have forced in the playoffs, 20 over the last 6 games. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is given that its proper respect. And I don't know if they really don't notice that or don't understand that or don't see that or don't realize how important that has been. I think we addressed it as well, that throughout these NFL playoffs, turnovers have been an epic pandemic. 12 games and 29 turnovers throughout the season's playoff schedule in the NFL. And I'm concerned that we as a fan base are giving the Eagle defense a little bit more credit than they actually deserve. I really am. And that the Washington Commanders have a legit beef, but it's not really a legit beef. You can sit here and say that you shot yourself in the foot all day long. You still lost. And I'm not saying the turnovers were lucky. They weren't. The Eagles forced those turnovers. It wasn't like they were given them. But turnovers are a huge part of this game, and the Eagles have been playing it well over the past, playoffs, and then going back into the regular season, last 6 games, 20 turnovers in the last 6 games. I don't ever remember, even back in the day, man, like those 90s defenses, like the 91, 92, Reggie White, Jesus, I'm sick, give me a break. Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Andre Dirty Waters, man, those defenses. I don't even remember them doing 20 turnovers through 6 games. I mean, that's like bird gang stuff. It really is. And the Eagles need to be commended about that because it's part of winning the football game, and it's part of how you win football games. But to think that the Eagles are this juggernaut, are going to shut people down, that nobody's moving the ball against them, and that Pat Mahomes, who, like it or lump it, is on his way to becoming the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. Give that man some respect. Give that respect. He could walk around like Flavor Flav wearing Vince Lombardi Super Bowl trophies as a necklace. Give that respect to where it's due, because it's due. You know how obnoxious we would be if we had a Pat Mahomes here? Rightfully so, too, right? But give the respect to that man. And we haven't faced a Pat Mahomes this year. We haven't faced a Pat Mahomes since last year. And the Chiefs moved the ball against the Eagles. They did. The Eagles ended up winning. And when it counts in the Super Bowl, Pat Mahomes is beating the Eagles. So to think that the Eagles are going to go in there on Super Bowl Sunday with their defense and not give up any yards or any points is ridiculous. What to think is, though, is that they can continue to live by the turnover, which I don't know if you can do that either. Can you count on turnovers as part of your defensive scheme? We're going to have to wait and see, but I just, the fallacies about how I'm hearing people talk about the defense is really concerning me. Concerning me a lot. Michael Kaepernick, how are you, sir? To all the Washington Commanders fans, stop crying. If your team and its players held on to the damn ball, the Eagles wouldn't have recovered X amount of fumbles and the interception in the end zone. Now, Mike, again, you're right. I'm not sitting here saying that it's a legitimate gripe that a fan base should have about the game. It's part of the game. And it's whoever, we say it every week, whoever wins the battle of the turnovers is going to win the game. And the Eagles have not turned the football over yet. 4 friggin' turnovers, man. How do you think you're going to, in a championship game, in a playoff game, in a Super Bowl, hell, in the regular season, how are you going to win a game with turning the football over 4 times? Now, the only time I've seen a team, and I ain't going to lie, you know, the Commanders turned the ball over 5 times against the Eagles last time they played them in Week 16, and the Eagles lost. So I guess it works out both ways at times, but that's an anomaly. You're just not going to win. And I do want it to be said. I want everyone to understand. I'm not discrediting the turnover and the way the Eagles forced those turnovers. It wasn't like the Commanders were running down the field and then they threw the ball away and said, "Yep, you know what? Fumble." No, ball was stripped. Ball came out. Interceptions, as Michael said at the end. So it's part of the game. But interceptions happen in the heat of battle. And that last turnover, the interception in the end zone by Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, is that a garbage interception? It might be. It was a last-ditch effort. That's not the turnover that I am really, and if I was a Commanders fan, that's not the turnover I'm looking at as being like, oh, God. No, I'm looking at the 3 other turnovers that occurred prior to that just derailed the whole damn game. It was honestly the number one reason. It was bigger than the play of the Eagle defense. It was bigger than Saquon Barkley. It was bigger than Jalen Hurts. It was bigger than anything the Eagles did against the Commanders. It was the turnovers were the number one reason why the Eagles won that football game. And I think it's not. I think it's being lost. I don't think people are looking at it like that. And I don't know if they're identifying it or they're lumping in the turnovers as part of the dominant defensive play. But you can't always guarantee 4 turnovers. You can't live your life on a week-to-week basis by saying we're going to get 4 turnovers today and put that in as part of your instill on defense. Washington didn't stop the Eagles when the Eagles got all those fumbles and turned them into 55 points was put up. Washington didn't stop the Eagles when the Eagles got all those turnovers. Yeah. Well, no, Mike, I get that. And as I said, you know, when you get turnovers, obviously you flip the field. You have short field. And all kinds of momentum goes away. Please understand, I'm not discrediting the turnover as part of the reason why the Eagles won. It's a cherry on top of why they won. It's part of good defense. I'm giving it to you. But my point of all this is the Eagles have feasted on turnovers in the postseason. And over the last 6 games, they have really feasted on the turnovers. 20 of them in the last 6 games. Epic stuff. Almost, 2.5 a game or 3.5 a game or some crazy number like that. And heading into the Super Bowl against a Kansas City Chiefs team that does not turn the football over. Here we go. You know? Now the Commanders went into the championship game, no turnovers, which I'm not sitting here telling you, by no means am I comparing the Chiefs and the Commanders together. Now, the Eagles, they haven't turned the ball over at all in the playoffs. Does that concern anybody? Because riding that wave, maybe start thinking about that a little bit. And then you get that one turnover in the game that you certainly don't want to turn over in, and that's the Super Bowl. But it's part of my reflection process here. It's part of me looking back, not only on the championship game, but on the whole season as a body of work, kind of following suit on the other Eagle fans out there as we reflect in between the championship game and the Super Bowl, and what I see and what I've seen from this team over the past 4 or 5 months. And turnovers has definitely been one of the things that have grown into something completely different than it was when the season began. Me and Kyle Quinn on the Birds Blast, a little selfless plug for our weekly Eagle pregame show we do, that we will not do this week, by the way. We'll be back next week for that. But we talked about it week after week after week. This team's got to start forcing turnovers. I think heading into the Washington Commander game in week 16, heading into that infamous Commanders game where they got the 5 turnovers. Prior to that game, they were like 13 turnovers for the whole season. Maybe even like 12, maybe less than that, like 12. It was terrible, man. And then all of a sudden, from that game on, they've been getting them in gangbusters. It's a big factor, man. It's huge. And reflection of that is because the defense has gotten better. The defense has grown into themselves. The defense has begun to spread their wings, so to speak. Pardon the pun. Might be. The defense is not the same defense that it was in September. Of course, it's not. The whole season has gone by. It's almost like a whole lifetime in the NFL. Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell are no longer, or there are no longer rookies on this team. They are now NFL veterans. So I know it's a whole different world between September and February. I get that. The 3 facets of football: offense and defense and special teams. Not all 3 come together sometimes. Yeah. No, you're right. And sometimes you got to overcome when they don't. Now, special teams, listen, everybody kind of poo-poo special teams, but special teams can really hurt you. Like on Sunday, Eagles gave up that fake punt, first down. I honestly thought those first 2 drives, the way the Commanders moved the ball against the Eagles on the first drive, converting the 2 fourth downs, they really had the Eagles guessing on what they were doing. And the Eagles tightened up, forced them to a field goal in the beginning there, and then the turnovers began, and then it was downhill ever since. So again, I'm not taking credit away from them. I'm just saying nobody is talking about the turnovers. I could just be like, okay, 4 turnovers against the Commanders, and that's it, and that's all they forced throughout the whole playoffs. Okay, fine. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing really much to talk about, but they forced 10 turnovers throughout these playoffs. And I said this last night: the 4 turnovers against Washington are the reason why they beat the Commanders. Hands down. The 2 turnovers against the Rams in the snow were huge reasons why they won that game. Huge. And then the turnovers against the Packers on the opening kickoff. That set the tone, all that they were huge as well. The turnovers this postseason have been great. The Eagles have definitely feasted on that and definitely have taken advantage of it. Can they continue that with the Chiefs? Because getting 4 turnovers a game is kind of how you're going to have to beat the Chiefs. To think that the Eagles are going to walk onto the field, and this is another thing I've been hearing today. What did the Eagles open up as a 6-point favorite? How does Vegas have them a 6-point favorite against the 2-time defending Super Bowl champs? It's amazing. But to think the Eagles are going to walk onto the field in New Orleans and somehow bully their way to a Super Bowl championship against the Chiefs is fool's gold, man. You have a better chance of finding the baby in the king cake. For all you New Orleans people out there that know what I'm talking about, it's about that Mardi Gras time, right? I'm telling you, man, turnovers are huge, and the Eagles have definitely greatly benefited from them at this postseason, and it was sort of out of left field. And when I do the epilogue of the Eagles season, when I go back at the end of this game, win, lose, or draw, and then we start to dissect the Eagles in 2024, turnovers right now are my X factor of why they've been so successful. Absolutely. And why they might be the Super Bowl champions. Absolutely. But so I'm just taking some observations of some reflections, because that's what we're doing apparently right now in Philadelphia. We're reflecting back on the Eagles like the season's over. Now, I know you got to fill up the time, man. You got to close the gap in between the weeks. But yeah, man. The other reflection I've heard, Chiefs haven't faced Barkley yet. Yes, and the other reflection I've heard, Michael, and that's a good segue, is the Barkley thing, the Barkley factor. Okay. Now let's address what Michael said. That was Michael was not employed by the It's Rap Sports Network at all, and he's matter of fact, it's the first time I've been talking to him since like October, or like the second time. We just reconnected over the weekend. But that's an exact segue to what I was going to get into next, Michael. You're on it, man. But Barkley has been definitely another X factor for this team, and a feather in Howie's cap. I got to give it to him. I'm not going to sit here and be like Debbie Downer on that. I was actually pro Saquon. I was glad they brought him here. I thought it was a great move. I wanted Bijan Robinson a couple of years ago in the draft. I think running back and the disrespect that running backs have received in the NFL in this modern pass-happy offense, or not offense, but pass-happy world is straight up disrespectful. You have to have a running back to win a championship. Football, you can change football a lot of different ways, but you still need to be able to move the ball on the ground. Now, I don't think anybody expected Saquon Barkley to move the ball this effectively. And do you think it's actually going to replicate itself? Now, I'm getting already ahead of myself, but there's topics that I already know we're going to be talking about in the offseason. We're going to talk about Saquon repeating the performance. And there's going to be two sides of that conversation. There's going to be two sides, like there always is. Every Eagles fan, like every Eagles conversation, there's going to be two-sided fans. There's going to be the ones that say, yes, doesn't matter. He's running behind Stoutland U. He's running behind that offensive line. He's going to run for 3,000 yards next year. And then there's going to be the other side, which more than likely is the side I'll be on, which will say, no, it was a one and done. You can't count on a 25 or 2,000 plus yard rushing year to year. It just doesn't happen like that. It makes it for a very long offseason. And that's why winning a Super Bowl would go a long way in attempting or taming that beast. But Saquon Barkley has been out of control, man. It is like almost to a point. Well, it's not almost to a point. It is to the point where you need a big play. You just give the ball to him. There you go. And it's not like it's like Techno Bowl. It's like the Bo Jackson cheat code, right? It's like playing Madden. That's how obvious it is. It's not like people were like, oh my God, they're giving the ball to Saquon Barkley. What a masterful stroke of like offensive strategy is that? No, everybody knows he's getting the damn ball and nobody can do nothing about it. That's what's so crazy about this. I've never seen anything like this before, even back in the day. Now, I'm not a Barry Sanders fan, nor am I a Detroit Lions fan. And it was back in the 90s, so we didn't have the ability to see that. But was this like it was to have Barry Sanders on your team for all those years in Detroit? And matter of fact, what would Barry Sanders have done running behind this offensive line? Oh, man. So it's otherworldly the way it's working for them. And to Saquon's credit, he has been a difference maker. The stat says it for itself, and I've used this stat to kind of bring home my point. I don't know if I still have it up here, but let's try. I think I might still have it up here. I don't know. I go through these studios and I clean out things all the time. I might have taken it down. No, I didn't. So there it is. This is my point here. In 2024, this is not to include the playoffs. This does not involve the playoffs. Now, the Eagles as an offensive unit as a whole registers 6,242 yards and 53 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley's all-purpose yards are 2,283 yards, and he scored 15 all-purpose touchdowns. Saquon has accounted for 37% of the Eagles' offense and 28% of their touchdowns. I don't remember seeing numbers like that before. So skewed to one player. So skewed to one thing. Now, there's, of course, two schools of thought to this too. It's great to see something like this, but it's very scary because what does happen if Saquon can't replicate this in 2025, which was for 2025 discussion, or if he gets hurt? Where's the rest of the Eagles offense coming from? Can they sustain that? And how gaudy is it, or how obnoxious is it? I guess obnoxious is probably the word that I want to use, that as an opposing defense what the Eagles are going to do, and you cannot do anything about it to stop it. It's not like Spagnuolo is going to be sitting there this week wondering how the Eagles are going to attack him. Like wondering, what are they going to do? Are they going to mix Jalen Hurts, RPOs? What's the run-to-pass ratio for the Eagles? What do you think it's going to be there, Steve? No, they know what's going to happen. They're going to give the ball to Saquon Barkley until somebody proves they can friggin' stop him. And nobody can. It's obnoxious, man. It's obnoxious as hell. But, it's been great. It's been great to watch. It's been great to see. It's been great to be involved in. And with this game, and it's, again, the 8-man in the box. Everybody has tried. I said the other day, Sean McVay should be fired by the Los Angeles Rams. Should have went back to LA after losing the divisional round and gotten fired. Because not only did he lose to the Eagles, which it happens, right? But he let Barkley beat him again. Saquon Barkley amassed over 500 total yards in 2 games against the Rams. Are you freaking kidding me? One player amassed for over 500 total yards against the same defense. And I think like 5 touchdowns on the season in 2 games. He should have been fired. Not only did you let Saquon gash you apart the first time you saw him back in the regular season for like 255 rushing yards, over 300 yards of total offense. You let him gash you apart again in the playoffs, knowing they were going to give the ball to him. Should have been fired on the spot. And then a lot of the 8 stack the box. Let's put 8 in the box. Let's make sure that they, let's put a hat on every hat. The problem is when the Eagle offensive line beats that threat, which they're doing, there's no second layer of defense. There's only a third layer, which is 15 yards down the field. And Saquon Barkley is already off into already into second gear, off to the races. So how do you beat it, man? I've been saying it all season. How do these teams allow Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley to beat them? And how do you stop it? Put 8 in the box. Okay, well, the Eagle offensive line is blowing people off the friggin' point of attack. Doesn't matter if there's 8 or 10 in the box or 5 or whatever. They're dominating. And then Saquon Barkley gets into the second level, which there's nobody in that second level because everyone's been pulled up to the box. So that means that leaves the third level, which is 15 yards down the field. And by the time they get to Saquon's in second gear. He's got a full head of steam, and he runs you over. How do you beat Saquon Barkley? Or how do you beat the Eagles with Saquon Barkley? And Steve Spagnuolo is going to have to figure that out, man, because as this team goes, or as Saquon goes, this team will go with it. But I am still concerned that the team is still 2-1 layered. Yes, Jalen Hurts had himself a hell of a game on Sunday. He did. But come on, man. Are we really? Do I really? I don't know if I'm sick, and I don't know if I have the energy to go down the Jalen Hurts train, Jalen Hurts rabbit hole right now. Yeah, he had a hell of a game. A hell of a game. But that's been more of a rarity than the norm. Expect Jalen Hurts to kind of not fall back down to earth, but kind of just gravitate a little bit out to where he's been all season. I mean, he had a great game against the Steelers, too, back in Week 12. And he had this one. I mean, that's about the only 2 games in the last 20-some-odd games he's played that we can say that he's played well. So I'm not expecting Jalen Hurts to be anything more than the game manager that he is come Super Bowl Sunday. But how do you beat Saquon Barkley? And if the Eagles, even if the Eagles find themselves down by 14, and if say that's what happens, say the Eagles lose the turnover battle and they're down by 14, do the Eagles still continue to feed the rock to Saquon Barkley? I say they do. Even though they are running out of time. Because he gives you the best chance of winning. So just otherworldly stuff from Saquon this year. And he needs 30 yards to have the most yards in an NFL season, to include playoffs. And I don't deny the fact that he's going to get that. And another stat Another stat to kind of wrap your head around is this. Over the last 18 playoff games, the Kansas City Chiefs have not allowed a 100-yard rusher. Interesting. Does that record fall on Sunday? Or I shouldn't say Sunday. It's not this Sunday. It's next Sunday. Does that record fall, folks? I say it does. Did I already do this one? Chiefs haven't faced Barkley. Yes, I did that one. Let's do this one. Also, this team with Fangio and Moore are veteran coordinators and not first-year guys. They have changed the culture from the S show of last year. Yeah. Oh, wait, I thought that was the job of the head coach. I thought that was Nick Sirianni's job to change the culture. I thought the culture was good. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just thought that culture was good. And by the way, Kellen Moore, a finalist for the Saints job. Very interesting about that. So the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Kellen Moore is a finalist for the new head coaching position with the Saints in New Orleans. The last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl 7, it was in Arizona. And John Gannon was a finalist for the Cardinals job. What does that mean? Why are we doing this? Why is all this stuff lining up? Why do they got to go to places and then have the coordinators leave and become head coaches there? But I don't know about your comment here, Michael. I disagree, man. I'm not disagreeing with the S show. It was terrible. Maybe on the defensive side, yes. But on the offensive side, no. I mean, the defensive, listen, again, reflection time, Mike, is the theme of tonight's show. When you think back on the season, what was the one thing going into the season everybody was concerned about? It was the defense. We didn't have, what I heard was there was no concerns about this offense. The offense was going to be poised to take a next step with all these great weapons in Jalen Hurts. And then you add in Saquon Barkley. The offense was going to score 35 to 40 points a game. Now, it hasn't been like that. It was the defense that stole the show from the very beginning, and they have been running with the ball ever since, literally. So I think the emphasis going into the season was more on the defense because of the youth of it, the talent level at the time, and the fact that they had a new coordinator that was, this old school Vic Fangio type stuff. So I'll give you a culture change on defense, but I'm not going to give you a culture change on offense because I think the culture on the offense is the same as it was last year, honestly. I really do. But no, I get what you're saying, though. Also, Dallas Goedert had been healthy and playing really good. So you're saying also if Dallas Goedert had been healthy and playing really good? Are you factoring Dallas Goedert as part of the culture change on the offense? Because I totally disagree. And I don't understand what you mean there, Michael. Do you mean like if he was healthy and playing good or if that he has been healthy and playing good? Because he still battles injuries every year. That's got to be addressed this offseason in the draft. I think that's got to be addressed with the first round pick. And that's another thing. If they don't win at all, there's so much letdown from getting to the Super Bowl and not winning it. It makes you wonder because if they don't win it, one, they ruined an opportunity for Saquon to get the single season rushing record back in the regular season, right? Two, they're picking 31. They're picking down by the bottom, literally the pick before the last pick in the first round of the draft. So there's so much like FU that goes into them not winning a Super Bowl. There's a lot at stake here on Sunday. A lot for this football team. Or again, I keep on saying Sunday. It's next Sunday. Barbara. How are you? Hi, Matty. Do you know who John McMullen is? He said Steve Spagnuolo is not as good as Fangio. I guess he didn't watch Super Bowl 42. I know who John McMullen is. He said Steve Spagnuolo is not as good as Fangio. I don't know, man. If you take a look at the let me pull this up for you, Barbara. I've been doing these things since the Super Bowl started. Look at this. So let's get her comment off there because I can't even see that. But Jeez. So Pat Mahomes is 8-0 versus Vic Fangio, and his defense is all time. Mahomes' slash line through those 8 wins are 162 of 252, almost 1,900 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I don't know, man. People are going to tell you, well, that's skewed because Fangio was, with the Broncos and stuff. But, this is Fangio's defense, right? It's the same system that he's running here in Philadelphia. Granted, he's running it with more effectively with different types of players. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Steve Spagnuolo is better than. I think Steve Spagnuolo does more with less. With that Kansas City defense. Again, 18 straight playoff games without giving up a 100-yard rusher. There's something to be said there. And I think Vic Fangio is a little bit overhyped. Honestly, I do. That bend don't break thing. Remember that, guys? I mean, again, I go back to the turnovers. This has been masking a lot of things. The turnovers have been a huge godsend for this football team. And they have been masking because teams are moving the goddamn ball against the Eagles. Everybody seems to forget that. Everyone seems to put their head in the sand about that. The Eagle defense is not shut down. Teams move the football against them. The bend don't break is surely on display every week. They've been getting turnovers in droves, though, to kind of speed along that defensive process. So I'm still not a fan of the bend don't break. I hate it. I hate giving up large swaths of offense or yards. I can't stand it. Vic Fangio has been a godsend. Zach Baun probably owes his entire rest of his career to Vic Fangio, or at least he owes the next contract he signs to him. Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean. Those two owe their careers to Vic Fangio right now. Jalen Carter owes his All-Pro, All-World status to Vic Fangio. He kind of took Jalen Carter and took him to a different level. You know what I mean? So listen, I'm not downplaying his impact. Definitely better than Sean Desai. But he's not like this. He's not like this Spingali. Like that Spingali. But there you go. Sorry, guys. I am dealing with something tonight. I think I'm sick. When you think you're sick, you feel it kind of settling in. I fell asleep at like 6 o'clock and woke up like 20 minutes ago. Well, we woke up around 8 o'clock. I don't even know what's the Flyers game. Anybody? Because I got to get off the air before Sal pops on. From my lips to Steve's ears. Don't bother watching the Flyers game. Well, thankfully, I don't have post-game duties tonight. Sal does, though, Steve. So please, don't keep us all in suspense. I'm not watching it. What's the score? The 3 teams the Eagles beat in the playoffs are less than mediocre. Listen, Barbara, I've been preaching up and down that choir, and I've been running those schedules and all that. This is obviously the biggest test for the Eagles, obviously. And people are downplaying it. People are thinking that the Chiefs are going to be like, oh, there we go, take the trophy and just leave us alone. No, they're not going to do that. It's going to be a good game. And has some of this stuff been masked? We have not faced Pat Mahomes all season. Then again, there's not too many Pat Mahomes to face. They're downplaying everything. Travis Kelce is not Travis Kelce of 2 years ago. Yeah, but old man Ertz tore apart the linebacker core this weekend. Tore him apart. What is Travis Kelce going to do against Zach Baun and against Orlon Burks? Right? It all comes down to turnovers and Saquon Barkley. The same recipe for success that the Eagles have had all year. Saquon's got to get his now. As I said, Chiefs have not given up over 100 yards to a rusher in the last 18 playoff games. Does that change? I'm sure it does, but Steelers lost 6 in a row. Hey, yeah. No, they're terrible. Hey, did I get my message? Looking for? Yes, Steve, I did get your message. Unfortunately, we are in a situation right now where I'm trying to evaluate a couple things. So currently, unless you've worked with me before at this time, I'm not looking for anybody new. Sorry, I didn't get back to you, but we're working some things out within the network. I'm always looking for new help. But as far as going on the air, we're figuring some things out. there's some big things coming down the pike for this network over the next few days. And I'm waiting on one really big thing to kind of work itself out. So I'll have more information about potential new podcasters or new, and I listen, I don't call yourself a podcaster. I don't employ podcasters here. This is the It's a Wrap Sports Network is not a podcasting network. This is going to be, I'm taking the concept of terrestrial radio, taking it to the digital side. And we are going to be 24/7 live sports content. And it's a podcast, yeah, but I don't like calling it that. It's the new norm, right? I'm trying to take the concept of a WIP, of a Fanatic, of those types of things, and moving it here to the digital side and have 24/7 live content. Now we are at the bottom floor of that idea, but that's what we're working for every day. So currently, right now, though, we're not in flux, but there's like a fork in the road right now that we've come up here on It's a Wrap, and I'm waiting on 3 shows. There's potentially 3 new shows about to break. One of them is game changing, and the other 2 are really good too. But so right now I'm kind of on a pause, but I will let you know if I am. Okay, so thank you for your interest. Nobody wants the Saints job. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Was I talking about that, Barbara? Yeah, I was talking about the Saints job. So Kellen Moore is probably going to take the Saints job. Does anybody think he's not? I think he is. So if he takes the Saints job, that's another offensive coordinator that the Eagles are going to have to replace. Jalen Hurts is going to have to learn another system again. I got it. We're not really doing this kid any favors, here with the offensive coordinator carousel that he's been on, and he's been on that in college too. But it's not an excuse, damn it. Do you think Pat Mahomes would be affected by multiple offensive coordinators? I don't think you would. But that sucks, though. It really does. It sucks for the Eagles, man. They get some continuity. It's all about continuity too, right, Barbara? You want somebody in there that you can trust. You want somebody in there that you can grow with, and then he leaves. It's horrible. The team changed for the better 4 games. After 4 games, when they neutralized Hurts, they obviously don't trust him. Yes, Barbara, again. And nobody talks about that anymore. Everybody talks like that was some sort of passing, a ship passing in the night. That, we had this revolution during the bye week. We changed some things in the bye week. We have reinvented ourselves, and we're coming out a better team. They came out of the bye week saying we don't trust our quarterback, and we can't trust our quarterback. So we got to come up with an offense that takes it out of his hands. That's what they did. It was in a very polite way. They told the quarterback, yeah, you're good, man. Just you just keep doing those things over there. But we're just gonna have you hand off from now on. Yeah, but no, everybody's thinking that Jalen Hurts is just. The denial when it comes to Jalen Hurts is just, it's becoming new. It's becoming my new obsession, the denial surrounding Jalen Hurts and his quarterback ability. The offense reinventing itself was in direct correlation or response to not being able to trust the quarterback to be elite. That's all it was. It was a come to Jesus moment that the Eagles said, we can't trust Jalen Hurts to win us football games. I ran that stat. From the 49er game last year up to that week 4 game this season, Eagles were 3-8 to include the playoffs. They decided to go away from the pass, change up their offensive approach, philosophy, get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback, and they go on this epic, and they've won they've lost 1 game in 4 months. But it's not the quarterback, right? It's not taking the responsibility away from Jalen Hurts. No, that's not what they did. They reinvented it. They reestablished him. They rejuvenated him. They put him in a better position to make plays. No, they put him in a better position not to make plays. That's what they did. And that's okay. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It got him to this point. And it's not a bad thing that you don't have trust in your quarterback. It happens all the time. But you're stuck with this guy again, like you were stuck with Carson Wentz. You gave the guy the money. Again, just like you did with Carson Wentz. And once again, they better win the Super Bowl, because heading into 2025, you can't think that their Eagles are going to rely heavily on Saquon Barkley again, or that the NFL and the other teams that dwell upon in the NFL are going to allow the Eagles to let Saquon Barkley do what they did to them this year. So what is the next option for Jalen Hurts next season? And what is the option for the Eagles passing game next year? So again, a lot is on the line, man, on Super Bowl Sunday. Barbara got me all fired up, man. Barbara, I'm sick. You got me all fired up. The Birds added the old school punch to the tackling, and that made the difference. Yes, they did. They did, Steve. Listen, the defense has been, if you go back and look at the tape, everybody that was doing shows was saying the same thing. The offense is going to be fine, man. We're going to score 40 points. But it's the defense I'm worried about. Are we going to be able to keep the points off the board? And the defense has definitely taken leaps and bounds, greater steps than the offense has, and have outperformed the offense in a lot of ways. But they do give up points, and they do give up yards. You factor the turnovers in, and that's greatly assisted them. But can't forget about the turnovers. If the Eagles get 2 or more turnovers on Super Bowl Sunday, they will win. Take it to the bank. I agree. Wow, man, I was on an hour rant about the Eagles, guys. Look at you, man. Oh, wow, I got like so many comments. I'm way behind. It's not the Flyers. No, I don't. As I said, Steve, I have not watched 1 second of the Flyers. I've been. Is it over? Because he's about to go on the air, and I'm still like halfway through my show. But no, I listen, Steve. I was feeling sick all day. Had the scratch in the back of the throat, the tickle, and that thing has progressed into a full blown like cough now. And so I tried to be, and I felt like I was getting sick, so I tried to be aggressive, and I attacked it, but I attacked it too hard, so I went to sleep for 2 hours, and woke up right before the show started. So I've been doing this. I have no idea what's going on with the game. Steve says losing 4-0. God damn, man. Sal will be calling for tonight. That bad, huh? Woo. Yeah, so I'm a little bit of a angle into my personal life. I'm my day. I don't really have a day job because I'm retired Army. I did 30 years in the military, so I don't really work that much. But because I'm divorced and paying child support, got to keep paying the bills, whatnot. So I take a day job from time to time as a substitute teacher. So I work in the elementary school levels, and I love working in the elementary school. MattyB is in the elementary schools, shaping the minds of our future generations. And I work around kids a lot. So they're always sick. And it's God, man. Get away from me. Don't breathe on me. It's but I feel myself pretty lucky though, because I don't I'm not as sick as I probably should be working around kids as much as I do. And then of course reffing and whatnot. I'm around kids a lot. So, and I'm not as sick as I have to be grateful for that. I don't listen to Will. I don't know what that is. Yeah, well, I don't listen to WIP at all anymore. I love the idea. Right. And that's what I'm saying. Oh, so you're in relation to the dream. Yeah, that's what the dream was when I worked for EOP, was to help them achieve that. Me and Al had the same type of dream. We were both working towards EOP becoming that. It didn't work. But that's what the dream is here, is working towards a 24/7 sports venue and doing it full time, 24/7, a lot like in the model of WIP. And as I said, there's some big news coming the next few days. I know I've guaranteed one new show coming, working on one and really working on a third. So hopefully I'll have something for you guys soon. 5-0 now. Wow. Giving us Jesus Christ, 5-0. They gave Hurts more audible responsibility than he's proven to be extremely adept. Before that, it was a lot of Kelsey. Yeah. And that was an interesting thing too. Was that maybe the part of one of the struggles of the early part of the season, was Cam Jurgensen not able to do that? because I don't think he was doing that early in the season, right? It seemed like it was still being called by the offensive line. And that maybe is what has helped Hurts become more perceptive inside that pocket. Now maybe they can work on his passing ability in the offseason and gets a little bit. I don't know. Listen, I'm not going to sit here. As I said, Steve, I'm not an anti-Hurts guy. I think he's a good quarterback. I really do. I think he's a great quarterback, and I think he's he's not great, but I think he's a good, competent quarterback, and he can win Super Bowls, and he's a starter here. He's top 10 in this league. He is. He's not top 3, not top 5, and he sure as hell is not elite, but he's top 10. Eagles can win with him. Anybody can win with him, really. But I don't think he's a winner, or a champion. But Eagles are number 1 defense. They're the number 1 defense. But Steve, they also give up a lot of yards, and you cannot discredit the turnovers. I said it. I've been saying it. Up 34-23 against the Commanders. The Commanders were driving, Steve. They were going down the field on the Eagles like a hot knife through butter. And then the Austin Eckler fumble occurs, and the game switches. Now, the defense created that turnover. So, yes, the defense has been very opportunistic, but they haven't been living off the turnover. Over the last 6 games, they've been living like epically off turnovers, 20 of them. But nobody's giving credit to the turnovers as a huge factor why the Eagles are winning these football games. Those 2 turnovers against the Rams were key in the winning that game. The defense wasn't playing well at all. The offense was terrible. The 2 turnovers against the Rams were critical in that game. And the 4 turnovers against the Commanders were the reason why they beat them 55-23. Now, if those 4 turnovers don't happen, or if only that 1 turnover at the end of the game, the interception happens, do the Commanders win? I'm not saying that, but they sure as hell don't lose 55-23. People got to get their head out the sky, man. Get their head out the sand. Listen, the Eagles defense has been playing great, but they're not the reincarnated 85 Bears. They're not the reincarnated 2000 Ravens. They're not. They can be moved upon because that's what the scheme is. The scheme is a bend, don't break. We forget that. So people have been moving the ball on them. They've been getting turnovers, and it's been helping them. Barkley will never have 2,000 yards rushing again. It's pretty safe to say. Yeah, it is, Barbara. And I hope the Eagles fans don't go into next season thinking that he's the X factor again, that they can just hand the ball off to him and be like, yeah, just go. I mean, maybe he can, but usually the NFL gods or the football gods have a way of balancing all that out. Thank you, Steve. Oh, I appreciate that, Steve. Listen, there's no EOP was. Listen, I like to think in a lot of ways I was EOP. All right, I was part of a. EOP was 2-sided, right? It was the digital side and it was the social media side. And now they're still there. They're still on the social media side of things. They just cut out all the content on the digital side. So EOP is still there, and they're doing some good work with it over there. I don't look at it anymore, but they're doing some good work on it over there. But I like to think that I was a pretty big part of that. Behind the scenes, more than many people know of what I did over there. It was great working with Al. Al's a good dude. And Al's been doing some work for me here over on It's a Wrap, and we'll continue to collaborate in the future. But I'm telling you, there's some big news coming, Steve. Big news, hopefully. After the ball is snapped is another story. Yes. Yeah, he still holds on to the football too long, right, Steve? I mean, come on. How many Steves do I got in this chat tonight, man? You guys are killing me. Listen, we're starting to drone upon. Nobody cared about Zach Bond until this year. He's magically become a good player. And that's might be the Vic Fangio system. Sometimes it happens to a player like that. You find a system, it suits you, and you get the opportunity. Now, I don't want to go into this conversation right now because it's not time for it, but this team heading in the next season. So again, this conversation is going to get lost in its competencies because it just doesn't. It's not relevant right now. But is Zach Bond sustainable? Basically, right? Is he sustainable from this season on? Can you expect this type of performance out of him? Nakobe Dean, is he going to be available at some point next year before like mid-season? And what do they do with the linebackers next year? Can you really expect Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who's been given an opportunity and really hasn't been able to kind of capitalize on that yet? Can you expect him to be a solid contributor in 2025? Again, this is more of a conversation for later on. I'm just saying there's so much at stake on Sunday for this team because unlike the Chiefs, and I think we all can believe that, and I think this might be another show title for later on in the week, but there's more at stake on Sunday for the Eagles than there's for the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs are the dynasty. We're living in the Chiefs dynasty. They've proven it, that they can do it. The Eagles are the ones trying to ascend to a different level. And if they don't do it, there's still a lot of questions about this football team. This is not a perfect football team. Whereas you can look at the Chiefs and look at it a different way and be like, well, you got the all-world quarterback. You got the all-world tight end. Yes, he's diminishing. You got one of the greatest head coaches, if not the greatest head coach in football, in Andy Reid. You got the pieces still there that can take you more and win you more. But then you look at the Eagles and you got an upstart, you got a lot of more question marks to answer. So again, this is not a conversation for today. It's more for later on. But there's a lot of stake on Sunday. There really is. The Birds will never face another defensive line better than the Rams this year. Now, okay, is that the snow then? Are we going to give the snow credit for that? Or are we going to give the offensive line credit for that? Because, Steve, the Eagles manhandled the friggin' Rams at the end of that game. About that. Yeah, I guess we can. But, I mean, Saquon's not doing what he's done with the Eagles, with the Giants. He's not doing that, right? He's not doing that. Now, if the only thing about the Giants is, to me, if I was a Giant fan, I'm not upset that he's playing for the Eagles. I'm really not. I'm more upset that you let him walk away without getting any compensation. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm upset about. I would have much better have traded him for like a first-round draft pick. And they will be compensated for losing him with compensatory picks. It's like fourth round people, third round. So I'm not necessarily upset that he's gone because he would never be able to do that with the Giants. He was a very good running back with the Giants, but he was never going to do that with the Giants. And Giants fans know that. Dude, did you like every Flyers and Phil's post game? You were. I did not do like every Flyer. Well, first of all, they're my shows, so there's a reason why you saw me a lot on those shows, Steve. The Fighting's Final and Clear the Ice are my creations. I went to Al and said, I want to do. I brought post game to EOP, and it was through the Fighting's Final and Clear the Ice. Yeah, I mean, they were my shows. That's why they're here over in this network now, is because they were mine. And I introduced post games as being a valuable asset to the network. So no, I know I'm not downplaying what I did. I worked my ass off for those guys. I did, absolutely. Steve says he hears the Eagles have a tough schedule next year. Yeah, Steve, they do. As a matter of fact, for those of you who I got to wrap this up, we're not going to be able to do any of the other segments because you guys got me on this damn tangent. But here it is, Steve Roth. This is the sneak peek of the Eagles 25 schedule. Of course, we already know the opponents. We already know it's home or away. What we don't know, of course, is when. And that won't come out until May. But this is it in a nutshell. So, again, another reason why they got to win the Super Bowl this year. That's a beast of a schedule. Look at that road schedule. Talk about a gauntlet. Yep. So there you go. There's the Eagles 2025 schedule. All right, guys. Listen, I am not going to be able to do my other stuff. It's a good thing because I got to get off the air. I have no idea what's going on with the Flyers. Barkley sucked on the Giants, so they should have traded him. Not that he sucked on the Giants, Barbara, that the Giants sucked and they should have traded him. And knowing that he was heading into his final year of his contract, that trading deadline, which they were out of it anyway at that point, right? It was last year. They weren't a playoff team. They should have traded him for a huge haul, a Herschel Walker-like trade, Barbara. That would have set the Giants up for the future. So as a Giants fan, that's what I'd be mad about. Not that he left, because his career was going nowhere here. The Giants were, great. But the fact that the Giants couldn't capitalize and get something for their time. You know, the whole NFC East is awful schedule next year. That's why I think the Giants didn't make a change yet. Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be hard to gauge a team's ability next season with that. What the NFC East is playing the AFC West. It's tough. It's tough, Steve. And it might be something to that, Steve. You might be right. You've been saying that a lot. Do you feel that about delusional Cowboys hired their offensive coordinator? Keep doing what you're doing, Jerry Jones. That's all I want to say. Keep doing what you're doing. And who knows? Maybe this guy's the next greatest thing. You never know. But keep doing what you're doing. That's why I was really mad when he fired McCarthy, man. Don't upset the apple cart, Jerry. All right, listen, I'm going to wrap up. I can't believe we're an hour 15 in. I have not done any of the other segments, but they'll keep till next week. Yeah, they'll keep till next week. We got a whole winter to go, but we never got to the Phillies. We never got to my Phillies all-time manager. Never got to my all-time Phillies lineup. Never got to our of the night segment. Never got to the card review. That's okay. We'll catch them on the fly on Sunday night when we're back. But I want to thank everybody for making this night. And I want to apologize. I am under the weather. I want to thank you guys for being here with me and chilling out. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for being here. Wouldn't that have been, you'd say the Eagles could do the same thing, right, Steve? Think about it, Steve. The Eagles could do the same thing. I didn't even think of that. I made the point, and Steve takes it to a different level. They could do it. They could take him this offseason and do like a crazy 8 future first-round draft pick trade, the Herschel Walker deal, and set themselves up for friggin' ever. Does that, Steve, you've just created an entire half of offseason content with that one comment. Yep. You've just created an entire, it's going to be brought back up on this show. Don't you tell what's his name about this. Keep your mouth shut to Phil about this. This is between me and you. But no, that's a great point. Do the Eagles in the offseason consider a Herschel Walker-like trade for Saquon Barkley to set them? If you think Howie Roseman is your GM, if you want to wrap your arms, and if Howie would pull something like that off, I would forgive Howie for everything. But step away from Herschel. Step away from Saquon Barkley this offseason in a Herschel Walker-like trade and set this team up for the next 20 years. That's a friggin' GM. It's a great point. Yeah, keep your mouth shut. Why? Why not, man? Steve, you can't win unless you play. Do you honestly think Saquon Barkley is going to rush for 2,300 yards next year? He could on week 1 in the preseason go left, knee go right, done. Or week 1, go left, go right, done. We ran the balls out of Saquon Barkley this year. Why not? Especially if they win. Especially if they win the Super Bowl. A Herschel Walker-like trade for Saquon Barkley. That's the kind of GM I like, man. All right, everybody. Steve's giving us all stuff to think about tonight, and I will be back tomorrow night, not with the final word, but with the post-game. I had post-game duties. I will be back for Clear the Ice. Make sure you're waiting on Sal. I guess the Flyers are losing like 11-0 or something. Sal is going to pull you through the post-game. And maybe the post-game is happening right now. I don't know. But if it is, make sure you go over there and watch him. I will see you guys again on Sunday. Whatever. I'll see you guys next Sunday or on Sunday night with this show again. I'll be back tomorrow with post-game. I promise you on Sunday we'll get back to doing the regular stuff on this show. Until we talk again, you guys have a great rest of your night and a better tomorrow.